The Canon R5 Mark II is here, and Ikelite is excited to offer a housing to take it diving with you underwater. So if you're thinking about upgrading from the original R5 Mark I, or this is your first jump into a pro mirrorless camera, this will be a brief overview of the new tech found in the Canon R5 Mark II. So first off, the Mark II has the same 45 megapixels found in the original R5, but it is a new stacked sensor plus an accelerator. And that accelerator is used to power things like in-camera image upscaling and noise reduction, as well as a few more features that I'll cover in a second. But overall, you're not going to see a massive difference in image quality over the original R5, but that shouldn't be a huge deal because it already took amazing photos. Now that new stacked sensor and accelerator drastically improves the readout speed of the new camera and allows it to shoot up to 30 frames per second, up from 20 frames per second in the original R5. So for a lot of us shooting wildlife underwater, you might appreciate the increase in burst rate. The R5 Mark II also has a pre-capture feature, so it'll start capturing photos up to a half second before the shutter is pressed. And it also has an increased max shutter speed of 1/32,000. Next up is the autofocus. The original R5 already had a pretty solid autofocus system, but there's one feature in the new R5 Mark II that I think will make it great for underwater photographers. And that's its ability to find a subject and stay locked onto it even when it goes behind obstacles. Think corals, other animals, your dive buddy who just swam through your shot. Overall, if you're looking for the most obvious upgrade in tech in the new Canon R5 Mark II, I would look towards the autofocus. On the video side of things, the new R5 Mark II builds upon an already stellar system that the original R5 had, but the biggest improvement is the 8K 60 frames per second internal RAW. And this is a bump up from the 8K 30 frames per second that was offered in the original R5. So you can knock yourself out with those massive video files, but if you're not shooting 8K, you can shoot 4K up to 120 frames per second and HD up to 240 frames per second. The Mark II also includes C-Log 2, which will give you 16 plus stops of dynamic range and also match colors with Canon's cinema line cameras. So this is a great camera as a B-cam or dedicated underwater camera for bigger productions. Another cool feature to mention is that the pre-capture available for stills is also available for video, up to 5 seconds before you start recording your video. But this essentially means that you're recording video all the time, so you might run into some heating issues. Now, overheating was always a point of discussion with the original R5, and it's tough to give definitive answers to overheating because every situation is different. But I can say it's good practice to turn up the heat tolerance setting in your camera and also use a memory card that's suitable for the type of shooting that you're doing. If you throw an old SD card in the R5 Mark II and shoot 30 frames per second over and over again, or record super high quality video for long periods of time, you're gonna run into some issues. Alright, so that does it for my brief overview of the new tech found in the Canon R5 Mark II. If there are any features or things you're excited about for this camera, you can drop them in the comments below. And if you're ready to take this underwater, you can head over to our website and get yourself an underwater housing. If you have any questions about underwater photography or getting your camera set up in a housing, you can shoot us an email to ikelite@ikelite.com.